Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. On today's video, we're going to settle one of the longest battles in the history of barbecue: Carolina pulled pork or Texas style pulled pork. Stay tuned. You can see, look at this bark. It's crazy. Oh man, this is perfect. It helps to start with a nice sharp knife, okay? Oh my goodness. Look at that. All right, let's get into this pulled pork. I do have two pork shoulders here. Now, I've said it before in a lot of my videos, I like to trim the fat cap off. I really don't think that it serves a purpose. Now, if you are gonna be smoking a pork shoulder like this on a drum or something like that, where you got a heat source right under the pork shoulder, then you might wanna limit the fat that you take off, because this is gonna protect the pork shoulder. But you can see that there is a lot of fat on these pork shoulders, and I like to put enough rub, and a lot of people take the fat off. Well, you're taking off that rub along with the fat. So I'm just gonna trim this up a little bit, trim both of them up actually, and then we'll start to rub it down. So as I mentioned in the introduction, this is a Carolina versus Texas style pulled pork, and I love both styles, okay? I love both the Carolina and the Texas style pulled pork. And I will not be the judge on this. I'm actually going to take some samples to a few neighbors in some containers and let them pick. And these are Texans, okay? Without knowing what's inside the container, they're going to pick which pulled pork they like, whether it's the Texas style or the Carolina style. All right, so I'm almost ready here. All right, this looks good enough for me. All right, so you can see how much fat I took off of this shoulder here. And this is about a pound, maybe a pound and a quarter to a pound and a half of fat. Actually, I've got a scale here. I'm gonna go ahead and weigh it and see how much we took off. I forgot I had a scale for that reason. Oh, 13 ounces, so not even a pound of fat that I took off. Okay, I'm also gonna be weighing the pork shoulder. That's why I have the scale out here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because this is going to give me an estimated time that this is going to be cooking for. So 7.4 ounces is what I have here. Rule of thumb is about an hour per pound at about 225 to 250. Obviously, I'm going to smoke at 275, which is going to speed up that process. So I'm guesstimating I can have this ready in about 6.5 hours. So I'm going to trim the fat off of this one, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got both pork shoulders trimmed. Let's get to seasoning. Now, the Texas style, I am using mustard as a binder. So add enough mustard so that my rub sticks to it. Now, traditional Texas style rub is salt, pepper, garlic, okay? I am gonna use my homemade SPG, which is salt, pepper, garlic, and some paprika as well. So add enough mustard. And mustard, I have found that acts like super glue to rubs. It really gets the rub to stick throughout the entire cooking process, not just when it's sitting right here on your counter. Okay, so I've got it rubbed down, and here's my SPG. I will leave the recipe in the description box. So if you guys are interested in making this SPG, which is fantastic on just about everything, chicken, beef, pork, you name it, it is good on everything. So because this is a big piece of meat, make sure you add enough rub, okay? Do not be shy with it. All right, so I've got my Texas style pulled pork shoulder rubbed down, ready to go to the smoker. So for the Carolina style, I'm gonna use this Carolina Q vinegar sauce as a binder. This stuff is fantastic. Now, for this shoulder here, we are gonna be mopping this pork shoulder throughout the entire process. Both of these pork shoulders will not be wrapped, which means I'm gonna get some really nice bark on these, really nice flavor. Now, I will start mopping this shoulder once my bark is set. And again, that just simply means that the bark is not coming off when you rub your fingernail across the surface, okay? So that is enough binder. And I am gonna be using this Uncle Steve shake competition pig powder. Now, I was reading the ingredients on this rub here, and it's got everything that you want on a Carolina style pulled pork. Salt, pepper, garlic, brown sugar, honey powder, paprika. Again, just real simple rubs, but this is gonna have some really good flavor. I tasted it out of the bottle and it is fantastic. Now I am gonna be smoking these in my Yodel Frontiersman. It has been going for about an hour and a half, so it's ready to go. I'm gonna be smoking these at 275 degrees. I'm gonna finish rubbing this down. We'll see you guys outside. All right, we're outside at my Yodel Frontiersman. And again, I have had the pit warming up for about an hour and a half. Now these pork shoulders are gonna go on the top rack on the left side of my smoker with the fat cap up. So just like this, there is our Texas style. And here is our Carolina style, okay? Two totally different rubs, two totally different binders as well. And again, the reason I put this Carolina one right here is because I will be basting this about every hour, but once that bark is set. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the door. Again, rolling at 275. We'll see you guys back in about 3 hours. Stay tuned. All right, so 3 hours into the cook, and I have not spritzed or done anything to these pork shoulders. Let's see how we're doing. Oh yeah. Got some really nice bark creating on the pork shoulders already. Now, one thing that I am gonna do is turn these shoulders around, because this face of the shoulder that you can see here is already creating a really nice bark, and I want to make sure that I get that same bark all the way around the entire pork shoulder. So I'll reach back in here. Oh yeah, that's looking really, really good. So that bark is definitely set. Okay, now on the Carolina style pulled pork, I'm going to baste it with some of that Carolina Q vinegar based sauce. Just add enough of it, and from this point on, I will be basting this every hour. The Texas style, you know, the surface is still kind of moist. I'm just going to let that one run as is. But this Carolina pulled pork, I will be basting it again every hour or so. So we're going to let them run, check back in 2 hours. Stay tuned. All right, so 6 hours into the cook, let's check on our pork shoulders. Again, I've been basting the Carolina style pulled pork every hour or so. So one thing you'll notice right out of the gate is that the Carolina pulled pork does have a darker bark, and I'm sure that's because I've been basting it every hour or so with that Carolina style sauce. The Texas style pulled pork, man, it's got a nice crusty bark on it. It's looking really, really good. I want to get an internal temperature and see where we're at 6 hours into the cook. All right, 176 or so, and 185, 187. So I'm thinking another hour and these will be ready. So just push that back in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this opportunity and baste our Carolina style pulled pork. This will probably be the last time that I baste it. So in fact, I'm just gonna pour the remaining sauce over the top, just like this. Look at that. Does that look good or what? All right, so I'm gonna let this go probably another hour, then I'm gonna pull them off. If the temperature, the internal temperature is over 200 and it's nice and tender, I will pull them off in about an hour. And then I'm gonna let them rest for about 30 minutes before I pull them apart. So see you guys in a bit. All right, so the pork shoulders are ready. Now I'm gonna dig into the Texas style first, then we'll prepare the Carolina style, okay? So I'm just gonna open this up. Total cook time was 7 hours, right at 7 hours. And these have been resting for 30 minutes, maybe a little over 30 minutes now. So here's our Texas style pulled pork. Now, Texas style pulled pork, we just simply shred it, pull the bone out. Look at this, it's coming apart super easy. The bone's coming out nice and clean. This is still really hot, even though it's only been resting for 30 minutes, okay? So again, I trimmed a lot of the fat off. So we're just gonna dig into this and shred it. If I see any pieces that I don't like, I'm just gonna set them off to the side. I do have some cotton gloves under my black gloves here. So just gonna shred this up. All right, so I've got the Texas pulled pork shredded. And the last thing that we're gonna do to this is add a little bit more of my SPG. Now I tasted it, so it doesn't need a whole lot. Just a splash, just like that. Then mix it up. Get it all mixed up in there. If I see any big pieces like this, just break them apart, especially that bark, because you want that bark spread out everywhere. Okay, so to this, the way I'm going to present them to the taste testers, make sure I don't have any big pieces in here, is I've got some containers. These little black containers, okay? So I'm going to fill it up. We're going to give them some of that bark and then also some of the pulled, just like that. And on the lids, I wrote a number 1 or a number 2. Texas is going to be number 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the lid on that little container, package them up, and deliver them. Let's get to the Carolina style pulled pork. All right, so here's our Carolina style pulled pork, and it smells amazing, okay? It smells really good. The bark is really nice on it as well. Look at this. Now, I think this has a darker bark because of the sugars in both the rubs and also because we're basing it with that Carolina style sauce. So let's take the bone out as well, nice and clean. And I'm gonna shred this as well, same thing. And I'm gonna take off any of the little pieces of fat that I don't want, like this. I'm gonna take it off, okay? All right, so I've got our Carolina style pulled pork shredded, and I am gonna add a little bit more rub, just a little bit, for extra flavor. But the most important thing on Carolina pulled pork, believe it or not, is to add more of that sauce that we were basing with into the pulled pork. It's gonna give it a really good flavor, okay? So just mix this up. And I tasted this without adding the rub and obviously the sauce that I just added. And it was really juicy and flavorful. So we'll see what this tastes like once it's all mixed together. All right, so this is the consistency that I want. Got enough sauce on here. It's looking really good and smelling really good. So I'm gonna fill up 6 containers as well with the Carolina style pulled pork. Then we're gonna come back, I'll give this a taste, let you know what I think. Then we're gonna have a few neighbors give it a shot. Stay tuned. All right, let's give this pulled pork a try. Now first, before I try it, I do wanna mention that where the bone was on the surface of the pork shoulder, even got a smoke ring on the bone. Isn't that crazy? So that is really impressive. Again, I used probably 8 splits of wood of post oak on my Yoder Frontiersman, and even the bones got a smoke ring. So I'm gonna try the Carolina style pulled pork first. I'm gonna grab enough so I can get a good taste, get some of that bark in there as well. Here we go. Full of flavor. You want that vinegar and pork, they go really well together. So I'm gonna try the Texas style pulled pork. Same thing. Grab some of the bark and then some of the pork there. Just grab a good little handful, if you will. Not that much. Here we go. All right, so the Texas style pulled pork is fantastic. It's everything that we're used to in Texas. That salt, that pepper, that garlic. Also has a little bit of paprika. I didn't spritz it all. In fact, this is the very first time that I smoked a pork shoulder and didn't wrap it, okay? So it's so full of flavor, and that's probably why the bone even has a smoke ring. So who am I gonna pick here? You know what, both of them are really good. And I have made this Carolina style pulled pork before, but again, never unwrapped like this. So I'm gonna give it to the Carolina, okay? The Carolina pulled pork is fantastic. It's so full of flavor. That rub from Uncle Steve's Shake, that competition pig powder is fantastic. It's not overly salty, it's really, really good. So I'm gonna give it to Carolina style pulled pork. Let's go see what the neighbors have to say. Stay tuned. All right, so I'm sitting outside one of my neighbor's house, Ruben and Michelle, and they're gonna try it and see what they think. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, hey.
So here's number 2.
Thank you.
You guys try that one, then I'll give you number 1. You guys tell me which one you guys think is better. Yeah. I just made it, so it's fresh. Here's number 1. Sweeter? Vinegary?
I like number 2 better.
You like number 2 better?
I think number 2 is better.
Really?
Yeah.
All
But
right.
they're actually both really good. This one has a lot of, this one's juicier, it seems like, but it's
Yeah.
really,
So the first one you tried, number 2 was Texas.
see, we know.
Texas.
All right.
They're both really, really good.
All right. Well, thanks for trying it, guys.
No, thanks for stopping.
Off to the next neighbor.
Sample.
Yes,
Thank you very
All
much.
right. All right. Neighbor number 2. This is Renee and Karina. We'll see what they have to say. All right. So this is Renee and Karina. And I'm going to give you guys this sample first. This has a number 1 on top of it. Let me know what you guys think. And I just pulled it out of the smoker, so it's fresh.
It smells good.
Good?
Delicious one.
Oh, okay. And there's sample number 2.
It's a lot. To me, it tastes more smoky.
Smokier?
Yeah, you can taste the smoke profile a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm not catching a lot of flavor. I think I should have tasted this one first before the other one.
Really? All right, so what do you think?
I think the first one had a lot more flavor.
Okay.
I like the tanginess. I think it was juicier too.
Yeah, it is.
Right? It was more like juicier and tender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
What do you think, Renee?
it's hard for me, man. Like, I like the smokiness of this one, but yeah, the other one has more flavor and
Yeah?
the texture, I guess.
Yeah.
So both of you guys are saying the first sample, which was number 1, right?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Well, Karina's saying 1.
Yeah, she wants one for sure.
Okay.
You know? But now that I'm getting more flavors now.
Are there any like dark pieces in there? Like,
like the bark?
yeah.
Yeah.
Try that. There you go.
That's what I like.
I don't know. There's something about the bark.
Okay. 2. Okay, you guys are divided. So the first one was the Carolina pulled pork.
Okay.
That does have, you know, the rub has a little bit of sugar, pretty much salt, pepper, garlic, paprika, a little bit of brown sugar as well. This one obviously just has salt, pepper, and garlic, the Texas style. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks again for participating in the taste. So Texas and Carolina. All right, thanks, guys. All right, we are at the 3rd and final house. This is Bob and Diane. And I think I'm gonna hand them the Texas style first.
I dressed for the occasion.
All right, nice shirt. Oh, you got a beer to wash it down with?
Which one is this one that we don't know?
You don't know?
Are you videotaping?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Oh, this one has one more color to it. Oh man. So this one tastes more, a little more smoky,
That one tastes more smoky?
like barbecue-y.
Okay.
Like more of the regular barbecue flavor, where the other one has a more of a just a spicier flavor.
Okay.
I like this one.
You like that one?
You like this one better?
I got to ask the Carolina.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, that is the Carolina one.
Oh,
Carolina pulled pork. So the first one was Texas, which
I
was
was gonna say I like this one.
salt, pepper, garlic. So Bob, you like the Carolina one?
They're both good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got to pick a favorite. So,
But this is what, to me, this tastes has
Yeah.
tasty for me.
so the Carolina was my favorite too.
Oh, yeah?
So,
I mean, I like them both. Yeah, I like them both.
Oh,
really,
I choose this one.
okay.
I think for a pulled pork sandwich, which is usually how I eat them, gosh, I'm gonna say this one.
The
You
Texas
go with
style.
the other one? Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Carolina.
I mean,
All
I
right.
love them both.
All right, back at home, and I did the numbers. So it looks like Texas won over Carolina. Even if you count my vote, which I liked the Carolina pulled pork better, we had 4 votes for Texas and 2 votes for Carolina. So Ruben and Michelle both picked Texas. Diana picked Texas, and Renee picked Texas. And then for Carolina, we had Karina and Bob. Okay, so they picked Carolina. Again, both of them were really, really good. I like the Carolina pulled pork better, but in this test, again, just random people, they all chose the Texas style, but they also said that the Carolina pulled pork was really good. Me personally, as I mentioned earlier, the Carolina pulled pork was better tasting. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button if this is your first time here. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. See ya.